I want to talk about family tonight. Everybody hear me okay? I just to make sure. Okay. I want to talk about family tonight. So, as Christians, we're, we're part of a family. You know, there's a song out there, we're part of a family that's been born again. We've been adopted into Christ. We've been adopted into God's family. You know, there are people out there in the world who may have been adopted into their family, their physical family. They're not loved any less than any natural child would be. Just like there's no one who's born into God's family. We're adopted. Everyone's adopted. In Romans 8:14 through 17, it says, "For as many as are led by the Spirit, they are sons of God. For we have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but we have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ, so that we suffer with him, we may also be glorified together." We've been adopted into the family of God. And if we are Christians, if we've been baptized, we've put on Christ. Galatians 3:27. For as many as have been baptized into Christ have put on Christ. Now, that being said, you know, in the physical world, we all have family. Do families always get along well together? I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking. You know, there's a lot of times when, you know, siblings say butt heads. I remember when I was one of three sons, and we'd be driving on a trip somewhere, and we'd be in the back seat, and Mom, he's touching me. Said, you sit on that side, you sit on that side, you sit in the middle, don't touch each other. Well, you three kids in the back seat, they're going to touch each other. So we don't always get along well with family, but sometimes we do. You know, family should be the closest bond out there. You know, your physical family should be the closest bond you have on earth, because they're the ones you know the best. Why do we not get along well together? Selfishness? Yeah. Yeah. You- Yeah. So we can say that it's because of our personalities, isn't it? Are all the children the same? Do all the children have the same personalities? No, no. Anyone who has more than one child knows children don't have the same personalities. They're all different, and that's good because they're not supposed to be clones, little clones walking around, which is good too because you know we don't want everybody just like you or just like me walking around. So, okay, so if we don't get along well together, does that mean we don't love each other? No, not at all. In a family, we love each other. We get along well together. Sometimes we clash, but there's usually not anything you won't do for your brother or your sister or your mom or dad or your children, and within reason, obviously. Yes, our grandchildren. That's true. Yeah. There's a reason they call them grandchildren. So we love one another. Well, it's the same in the family of God. Not everyone has the same spiritual personality. Not everyone is on the same spiritual level. Everyone is in their own spiritual level. We're supposed to bear with one another, be long-suffering like Christ, because we're not all at the same level. We're not all have the same convictions, you might say. Everyone's at a different level in their faith. And it's just different learning, just different levels of learning. We should consider one another's needs more important than ours. Romans 12, 9 through 13 says, "Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned to one another, and with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of the saints, given to hospitality." That word dissimulation, I was looking at that, the King James says dissimulation. I'm like, yeah, it's a big word. What does that mean? So I looked it up. You should know what you're reading. And it's hypocrisy. It's another word for hypocrisy. So our love must be genuine. Have you known people who didn't have genuine love? Fake it till they make it. Does that usually work? It can. But it is it true love though? I mean, in the Bible, there's several words for love. We just say it love for all the different types of love there is. But the Greek has several words for love, for different types of love. And that agape is the love, it's not an emotion. Agape is a decision that you're going to consider someone more important than yourself. And that's where our love must be without dissimulation. It shouldn't be hypocrisy. We have to determine to love one another. You think it's tough to love someone who's hating you? Jesus loved everyone. I'm sure he didn't enjoy being put on the cross, but he knew it was important. He knew it was God's will. But he loved everyone because he gave his life for everyone. And just because he gave his life, excuse me, just because he gave his life for everyone doesn't mean everyone's going to accept it. So we can determine to love someone who everybody thinks is unlovable. And should we? We should love everyone. We should consider their souls important because they were made in the image of God. So our love needs to be a choice. And it's not easy to love someone who doesn't reciprocate or who ignores you or who despises you. So how can we have genuine love for one another? As a family, we need to have genuine love toward one another. How do we cultivate that genuine love? Yeah. Consider others more important than yourself, the needs of others more than yourself. That's certainly what Jesus did. Yeah. I just had a thought come in my mind, does anyone have a dog? Does that dog love you unconditionally? Have you ever hit the dog or treated it bad? Does it still love you? Does it still Does it still come up to you and wag its tail and want to be there? I mean, that's unconditional love right there if you look at it. But I mean, we can't really say that for people because people aren't dogs. But just a object lesson there. I mean, that dog loves because he wants to. He's dependent on you. Is love limited by quantity? Is there only so much love we can give? Love without end? It should grow, yeah. The more you give, the more you can give. Is love limited by time? Do we tend to act like it is? Says your family's here. You've got brothers and sisters. So if our brother or sister sins against us, what are we supposed to do? What do we guess? Oh, that's just they done me wrong. That's wrong. So I'm going to go over here and tell this person. I'm going to. Hey, did you hear what this person did? No. According to Matthew 18, verses 15 through 17, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he hears you, you've gained your brother. But if he will not hear, take with you one or two more, and by the mouth of two or three witnesses, every word will be established. And if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. But if he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and tax collector. Have you ever had something, someone ever hurt you, said something or did something that offended you? Did you ever go to that person and talk to them? Was it intentional or was it accidental? Did they not intend to hurt you? So sometimes we can, all we can do is judge on actions. We can't see the heart. And what they may do may offend you, and it's not meant as an offense. But if you don't go to that person, you won't know that. But if you do go to the person and it was meant as offense, then you've done the right thing. You've gone to it and they need to make amends. Then you follow the scriptures. But you don't go to someone else. You go to that person. Because if you go to someone else, then it's gossip. Hey, did you hear what happened over here? I heard this person say this person. There was a preacher years ago. I think he was down in Kaufman. I believe his name was Mid McKnight. He was talking one time. He said he got up in the pulpit. It was just prior to service. They were mingling through, and he got up in the pulpit and he said, "Sister so and so, you did this to so and so, and you did that so and so." And I'm ashamed to say that because I heard two ladies talking about it back there in the back. It was this person and this person. He called them out. He said, "That's gossip, ladies." I don't think I would handle something like that. But gossip is bad. We all know that. It can destroy, yes. It can split a church. It can destroy people. It can destroy your soul. It can ruin lives. And as family, we don't want to do that because we want our family to be close. We want our family to be loving and kind to one another. Yeah, there's going to be times when we're not, but that's things we have to work on because we're not perfect. We have to grow together. You know, when families start out little, you have young children. What do? They test their boundaries because they need to know where their boundaries are at. If you don't have any boundaries, then that's called anarchy. If you have no boundaries, it's anarchy. So little children have to know where their boundaries are. You say, okay, I can do this, but I can't do this because if I do this, I'll get punished for it. I mean, their mind doesn't think that way, but they know, they learn quickly. They said, okay, if I touch this stove, I'm going to get burned, so I'm not going to touch the stove again. Or, I fell off this, so I'm not going to stand on that anymore. So as young Christians, we have some that need to know their boundaries. They need to learn their boundaries. It's up to the more mature in Christ to teach the younger. That's scriptural right there. And I think we fail a lot of times to do that. We treat this more as a social club. This is something we come and do on the weekends. But in order to grow, it's not something you do. It's someone you are. As a Christian, it's someone you are. It's not something you do on the weekends. You do it every day. When you get up in the morning, if it comes Sunday morning, and I really don't feel like going this morning, that's the time you need to go. Wednesday night? Oh yeah, it's only Wednesday night. James is teaching class. I can miss that. It's the time you need to come. You need to hear me teach. No, but seriously, everyone has times when they don't feel like being here. But that's the time we need the encouragement. We're here to encourage one another. And it's an encouragement. It's encouraging me to see you here. Those that are in constant pain that are here, that could very well stay at home and stay in bed, are here tonight. That encourages me. It should encourage you too. There are people out here that, they don't want to come in. They're in pain. It hurts. Or they've lost someone and it hurts. That's the time you need help. That's the time you need comfort of your brothers and sisters. That's what family is for. That's why we're here. We all have casual acquaintances. In the world, we have casual acquaintances, people we know, and even in the church here, we have casual acquaintances, people we know, people that come visit. Then you have friends. They're friends, people you know them fairly well, but you don't consider them close friends. But they're friends. They're people you can come talk to easily and share things with. And then you have a close personal friend or two. You have someone who you can share your innermost feelings with. Those who, when you're down and out, you're hurt, and you need to talk to someone, that person can talk to you. You can call that person anytime, day or night. And you can talk to them. It's a close personal friend. And the word familiar, that's rooted in family. You heard familiarity breeds contempt. Well, contempt is you take them for granted, basically. You get familiar with someone, and you can have a tendency to take them for granted. So, we get along well together, and you take them for granted. But that doesn't necessarily happen. It can, if you let it. But being familiar, I thought that was interesting when I looked that up. It said familiar has a root in family because it is of the family. Who are you more familiar with than your family? You know them better than anyone else. You know their dirty little secrets. You know their idiosyncrasies. You know what causes them to get angry. You can go over there and poke them. Yeah. But family, we should be the closest to our family here spiritually, because we are family. Now, I may be beating a dead horse here with family, but this is family. I consider this, everyone here, I'm closer to you than I am with my physical family, because I share a common goal. I can encourage you, and you can encourage me. My physical family, we don't share that same goal. They can't encourage me like you can. And I can't encourage them like you can, like I can you. My physical brothers, they can't draw me away from Christ. Because I won't let them. I am more family here. I'm closer to family here. We don't live together. We work together. We play together. We have game night. We go over and visit, have cookouts. and parties. We play together. We encourage one another. We support one another. We pray for one another. Are you praying for your brothers and sisters? I would certainly hope so. We weep when others weep. We rejoice when others rejoice. We don't live together, but when we assemble, it's not something we do, it's something we want to do. And, church discipline is supposed to be keeping you away from the fellowship. If you don't have fellowship, what is the discipline by keeping you, excluding you from it if you don't have fellowship? In the first century, they had everything in common. If someone sinned and they didn't repent, they were excluded from fellowship. And that was terrible. That was a terrible pain. Just think about that. Being so close to one another that you can't fellowship with people that you want to fellowship with. They won't allow it. But if you don't have fellowship with them to begin with, where's the discipline in that? Everyone here should be loving to the point where everybody wants to be here. And I'm sure you're here Wednesday night, so I'm talking to the crowd. But I wanted to share this, a few ideas with you about family. I know it didn't go quite as long as I'd hoped it would. I was hoping to get a little bit more conversation going, but it didn't work out that way. So I thank you for your time, and that's it.
My mother-in-law is not my friend. And my father would say, "You sure you want to get into this thing?" I said, "I'm not wearing this thing." Naive me. But she was causing havoc, and it was with all these women that I grew up with that were saying that I was doing something wrong. I don't even know what it was. But anyway, created things in my mind, I guess. I went forward at church right before we got married and said, I'm starting a new life and I want things to be fresh, new. And I think that started a road for us that helped me learn to love her for the good was there, because there was definitely not always good. But I think that I learned a lesson because I just got this thought in my mind to kill her with kindness. And sometimes you talked in the beginning about do we fake it till we make it. If you want to call it that, that's what I did, because I did not love this woman. It took me a long time to realize there was good in her that I could love, but it wasn't all good. But still, I think that I just grew, and I think that's what we all have to do when there's problems between people. It's not always settled just by going to them and saying, what did I do, or did I offend you, or you offended me, or sometimes we have to grow and learn something about that person that we can zone in on and create a relationship where we get out of order, but make it work.
Yeah.
spend time in not just prayer, but spend time with that person, or spend time letting that person know through cards or a flower or whatever, which is what I'm, 18 years old. What do you do? But every little chance I got, I sent her a note, or I took her a flower and said, um, "Hey, we're in the Coke business. Let's have a Coke." But it took time for me to overcome the hurt that she put on me and be able to have a relationship.
But you were able to do that after a while.
I was,
Yeah.
and I will share this. My sister and I married brothers, and my sister couldn't do it.
That's true.
Probably has something to do with our culture and its tendency to utilize that in a way to obtain a certain gain. Like we have a tendency that take anything we can to take a leg up. At least that's the culture. Never been probably part of it. I think it's typical in that.
Michael?
So, you mentioned this before about I would say yes, because we're only here for certain amount of service and everybody else. And if you procrastinate too often on, say, okay, whether it's your family or giving them time, whether it's your church family, all that involves like Catholics, where it's in that field of putting in the effort and also the growth people. We're only going to be here for just think that they're so upset that it's not me. And so these are more extreme examples of some of that stuff. So I look at it as we are very much bound by time on what we have, what we have with each other, and not having a precedent. So love is going to be a cornerstone of us as Christians. We need to take advantage of the time we have with each other to really express that show.
Very good. Very good. Now we don't know how long we're here. Our time is finite. We're, what's the word? We're spiritual beings in a physical body. And our physical body is only here for a short amount of time. We don't know how long. And we're not guaranteed to make it home tonight. We need to take advantage of every opportunity we have. Anybody else?
And James, like some of my other life, especially at BC, we're going to be dead a whole lot longer.
That's true. Well, thank you for your input.